Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. As part of the iMoot team, I am pleased to introduce you all to Scott Huntley, who works for Pukunui, and he is one of their consultants and trainers on the East Coast of Australia. He also runs their Fortnightly Tips, which is a Moodle webinar that comes out every second Friday. So today he's going to be telling us about 26 tips to make you a better Moodler. I'm excited to learn what we can do to be better, and take it away.
All right, thank you very much. This is great because this is the Friday that Fortnightly Tips falls on. So this is an iMoot Fortnightly Tips crossover. I'm so excited. So hi, I'm Scott. Absolutely no time for a proper introduction. You just heard everything you need to know. I've got 45 minutes at the most and 26 tips. That means at the most I can do 103 seconds per tip. I got to talk fast. You know me, I can ramble on. So there we go. So why 26 tips? Because again, I run Fortnightly Tips at learn.pukunui.com. It's a free webinar every fortnight. It's going to show you a little Moodle tip or trick, help you do your managing with Moodle. And so this presentation is a co-presentation with it. So it's live from iMoot. And if you think about this, 26 tips, that's a year's worth of Fortnightly homework. So let's start into it. Tip number 1, make a backup. Immediately, right now, after watching these tips, well, maybe not right now, but after watching these tips, go make a backup. And specifically, I'm talking about Moodle, your Moodle courses, but let's be honest, when's the last time you backed up everything? So you probably need to make a backup today. World Backup Day was March 31st. Put that in your calendar. Don't just do it yearly, do it every 6 months. So set a repeat for 6 months. Back up your Moodle courses. Now, look, if you're a teacher, you might try to think you can get out of this. No, teachers have the ability to back up their courses. Take the responsibility, back up your course. Don't assume your Moodle admin will back up your course. If you're a Moodle admin, again, back up your courses. Don't assume your teachers will back up their course. I back up my stuff all the time. I'm always backing up before I do anything because I've learned the hard way what happens when you don't have a backup. Tip number 2, register your Moodle. So there's some information there on that link if you follow that link, and you can find out about registering your Moodle. You'll receive important emails if you register your Moodle. Every time there's like a new version or if there's an important security upgrade. We all know horror stories about security things. You know, I mean, there's hacks all the time. Maybe not on Moodle, but just in general, I mean. It will make your life easier when you're installing plugins too if you register your site. The one thing though, don't register a dev site. So my sandbox site, I haven't registered it, but all the other stuff registered. Tip number 3, follow the Moodle YouTube account. I follow this, I get emails every time Moodle uploads a video. And they just uploaded a whole lot of videos. There's the link right there, the YouTube link. They just uploaded a whole lot of new ones, all about 3.3. That's where I learned about the new features of 3.3, or well, any version. So a lot of great stuff that comes out of that, especially during version upgrade times. And also at the Moodle YouTube account, they host some videos of selected presentations from Moodle Moots, the Moodle Moots that are run by Moodle HQ. And there's a link there. I love this guy's presentation. Take a look at that one. I'm not going to tell you what that is, but you won't get rickrolled, I promise. There's some other great Moodle flavored YouTube channels as well. So shout out to HRDNZ because they've got a Moodle Bytes YouTube channel. So you learn a little bit about Moodle inside there. I haven't really taken too much of a look at that. I took a little bit of a poke while putting together this presentation. And I think, you know, I trust stuff coming out of HRDNZ. They're great company, great Moodle partner. And I gotta put in some props for my own company, Pukunui. We released all the the iMoot archives on YouTube. So iMoot 2016 is on there. You can go watch presentations from 2016, 2015, and also the mini iMoots. So usually the iMoot team, they release the videos a year before. So they just released the 2016 ones. So probably, I'm guessing, in November they're going to release 2016 mini iMoot, and you'll be able to see more of me. I've got a keynote at that one, so looking forward to November. I love that Pukunui does this. Well, I love everybody that does this. Tip number 4, switch your format. So try playing with different course formats. I see so many people who are stuck in this weekly format. I don't know if that's one that comes by default, I guess, and they build their courses around the weekly format. When I was teaching full-time, I didn't like the weekly format. It would have made sense in some ways because we had 18 weeks and I could have structure my information that way. I prefer to do it by topics. Made a lot more sense to me. Made a lot more sense to my course to actually use the topics format. But that's not all. That's just the ones built into Moodle by default. If you go take a look at the plugins, there's a lot of awesome course formats inside there. So one of my favorites is Grid. Grid's a great course format. Take a look at that one. One Topic is another one as well. Single Activity, I keep trying to not look at the chat, but I just saw single Activity is really useful, especially if you're doing like a short little thing and you've got like a score package. I love that one as well. Is there an iMoot presentation on this? Yes, there is. There's an iMoot presentation, Horses for Courses by Dom. Dom's my boss. He's going to do a presentation later today. Take a look at that. He's going to talk about some course format topics. Tip number 5, learn to use the question bank. I love the question bank. The question bank is so incredibly useful. Every now and then I run across people who don't know what it is or haven't used it or aren't using it to its full potential. So it's this full bank of all these questions, right? And then what you can do is you can drag these questions into your various quizzes. So you can build a course or build a quiz that draws n random questions from the question bank. And I have to say, being a teacher, test time, I've got that little sadistic happiness watching around during my quiz time, because I would see my students and they'd all, try to do the sneaky thing of looking over to see what the other guy is doing. And it's like they all had different questions. And I would just laugh and laugh and laugh. And as they slowly realized, oh, I can't really cheat on this test. I love it. I got to say, as a teacher, that's like a nice little piece of revenge there. But seriously, I think that it's really a great idea to build these huge question banks for a lot of reasons too. You can actually do something like you could draw n questions from category X. So if you start to use the categories inside the question bank, it becomes really helpful. You can, for my own Ask What Compliance, I would do things like I build a category based upon question, or that contains questions that are based on a unit and the element in the unit, and even maybe even the performance criteria of the unit. So that way, when I put together my quiz, I could say, look, I'm covering these units and I'm covering these elements inside that unit. And I had that information for the ASQA compliance. I could actually show definitively where the questions were coming from, and it was fantastic for that. If you think about that, if you're not part of that, you're not part of ASQA, any of that sort of stuff. Let's take it down to a simple example. Let's say you're doing like you're a chemistry teacher and you're teaching chemistry. You can use your categories. You're going to have these questions from organic chemistry, these questions from inorganic, these questions about the periodic table, et cetera, et cetera. So you can really get that granularity inside your quiz. I think it's fantastic. And I love this. You can make categories go across the course category, even across the site level. So you can actually standardize your questions. So everybody, maybe they're all teaching various different forms of English. So you might have standard English class, and then you've got like Australian literature, and then you've got like Canadian literature or something. I don't know what kind of school has both those. But yeah, and then you've got your standardized English questions, and then you've actually got your specific ones, depending upon the specifications of the course. Yeah, so I really love the question bank, useful stuff. Tip number 6, learn how to use the gradebook. The gradebook is a complicated thing, I gotta admit that, but it's incredibly powerful. Can you believe there was a time when I never used it? Back when I was doing the teaching, we had to put our results into another computer program, another computer system that didn't talk to Moodle. So we were all like, well, why are we using this thing? Now I look back and I'm like, I must have been insane. The gradebook is so extremely powerful. Number 1, students can actually see the feedback of how they're doing in the course, and it's like all collated into one place. So they don't have to go chasing up all these resources and stuff. I think that it's fantastic to actually have that. There's a little bit of scroll depth problem inside there. I think it's even better when you actually start to use gradebook item categories. Gradebook categories. Gradebook items are another thing. You can actually put together these categories. So maybe you have 70% of the course comes from quizzes and 30% comes from essays. You can actually add those categories inside your gradebook and actually structure it out. And you can even do things where you're going to maybe you're going to take the top 4 out of 5 quizzes. So you're going to drop the lowest quiz. Or you can also do formulas there. It's like you're going to take the lowest and highest. Or you can do all these crazy calculations inside there. It's so powerful. Definitely spend some time into there, take a look at it, and yeah, dedicate some time into learning how to use the gradebook better. I think it's an awesome thing. Tip number 7, learn about badges. Badges are a fun way to engage your learners. You think of a badge like a Girl Guide or Girl Scout or Boy Scout badges. So when I was a Boy Scout, we had the sash and we had little badges in there. So we did some things and we earned a badge. You can do that. They can either be kind of, a lot of people take that as kind of like it's a fun thing, and it's kind of like a, you know, it's a little bit of gamification. They don't take it so serious. There's other people who are like totally other school of thought. They want to make it a really serious thing. This is a way that you can actually take your credentials, show your credentials that you've earned in one Moodle course, and take it across and demonstrate to everybody. Really cool stuff. Lots of things to play with inside there. So you can give them out for completing activities, courses. You can manually issue them. You all have a badge by coming to this presentation. I've given you a badge. You can set an expiry date. So you could even do something like set up a student of the week, and it expires after 7 days. So you can do something cool like that. Make badge.es. That's a great place. I make a lot of badges through there. It's great if you're graphically, designically impaired. It allows you to actually put together a nice little badge with their little templates and stuff. And you can take badges across sites using Mozilla Backpack. So take a look at Mozilla Backpack. I wish I put in a link there. I just search for Mozilla Backpack. And you can link that to your Moodle, and then you can take them and trade them all amongst your various Moodles. So people can take their badges with them. Tip number 8, turn on completion tracking. Completion tracking, so helpful. And at least in a lot of the Moodles a lot of the Moodles I'm working with, it's turned off by default. So one of the first things I do, go in, turn on my completion tracking, go to Edit Settings, Completion Tracking, enable your completion tracking. You can set up conditions which will indicate when an activity has been completed by the student. So you can do stuff like the student can manually check off that they've seen something, or you can do something like when the student clicks on activity, that triggers it as completed. Yeah, keep in mind that just looking at the book doesn't mean that they've read the book. But you can also do things like when they've uploaded to an assignment, that triggers an activity completion. When a student has made a choice, that triggers an activity completion. So helpful. It's worth it alone just for the completion report, because it's one nice little report that you can see how your students are doing, how they're progressing, what have they completed. I think that completion report is so helpful. So there's actually a Fortnightly tips on this topic. Last Fortnightly tips, we talked about completion tracking. So go take a look at that link there if you want to find out more about this. I've given an entire presentation on that. Tip number 9, learn how to use restrict access creatively. Restrict access is awesomeness. I love restrict access. I use it all the time. You can set it up so you're restricting a student's ability to interact with an activity or resource, or maybe even you're hiding it away entirely so they don't even see that activity or resource. And it's not just activities or resources, you can do it for entire topics. So you can hide them away or have it so that they can't really interact with it. You can do it based upon date, you can do it based upon group, you can do it based on grade, based on user profile information, or even based on activity completion. I love activity completion with restrict access. Or you can do it with a combination of all of these. So you could do stuff like you're going to display a midterm break message, and it only shows up during the midterm break. Or maybe you want to display a tab that's only available to, like a tab with the one topic format that I was talking about, a tab or topic that's only available to users with email addresses that end in @pukunui.com. So I could set this up and only have my fellow team members at Pukunui be able to see this topic. So maybe put in some information there about how they should use the course template. Or you could do stuff like you're going to deliver topic 2 only when the quiz for topic 1 has been complete. So a lot of people do that. They daisy chain out their course so students can only work on material after they've read the prerequisite material. There's some fantastic plugins that extend this even more. I was taking a look at that for my Fortnightly tips, and I found plugins that do like restrict access based on a date offset, so not just based upon the specific actual date. It was like 7 weeks after the course start, do this. So I thought that was a fantastic one. I've seen them based upon badge. If students have the right badge, they can see stuff. also based upon the course completion, so that's great for if you have a certificate. They have to complete the course before they can get to their certificate. One of the most interesting ones, you can do it based upon PayPal. So they actually have to pay some money to get to that section. I thought that'd be great if you had like an ebook and you wanted to come up with another way to make that material available to students. There is a Fortnightly tips on this topic. It's the same as the last one, so go take a look at that tab, that link if you want to find out more about this. Tip number 10, learn to love the things you hate. And I hate the database activity. I find it hard to use. And I'm like, I have to break out of my shell. I have to challenge myself. I can't just go, I'm never using the database activity because I don't like it. Learn to love the things you hate. Stop using only the ones you like and practice, experiment, play with the ones you don't like. And yeah, I picked database because I know that Sarah Ashley has a great presentation of this at Moodle iMoot, mini iMoot 2016. So I went to find the link for that. I thought it was at iMoot. I was going to put in the link to her database presentation, but I think it was at mini iMoot. Another one, though, I just came out of Ian's presentation on wikis. I never use wikis. I hate wikis. And I'm like, oh, you know what? I have to learn to love the things that I hate. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to watch the replay on that. I'm going to start trying to use wikis more. Tip number 11, kill your darlings. I am not crazy. I'm not psychopathic. This is actually a term that comes from the movie industry. When you're editing a film, sometimes editors, directors, they have to kill their darlings. These are scenes that they love, but they don't fit the flow of the movie. They slow down the pace of the movie. So they hate to do it, but they have to cut that part out. And you have to do this to your Moodle course as well. So you might have part of your Moodle course that you love, you think it's well crafted, you think it's fantastic, it doesn't fit in the course. And it's breaking your heart. Do it. Kill your darlings. You got to do it. Do it. And you know what? Just saying, this is probably true of other aspects of your life as well. Every now and then we got to look around, we got to say, you know what, this thing I love, it's in the wrong place. You got to kill it. That doesn't mean you leave it on the cutting room floor, you put it in the DVD extras, right? That's what the film directors do. Tip number 12, make a template course. Really helpful stuff. Sometimes I come across people who haven't done this and I'm just like, what? That's crazy. So one of the things that we did back when we were teaching, me and another teacher, we sit down and we built the perfect Moodle course. We built a perfect template. And that's where we went in and we put in all those bells and whistles. We put in, we took that restrict access and we hid away our student assessment guides. They had to do this and they had to do this. So they had to agree to the terms and conditions before they could access the course. We built all that beautiful stuff. We built in beautiful teacher intros, and I cover doing a little bit of that during my case study, during my other Bootstrap presentation. I should have put in a link to the Bootstrap presentation. We built all this beautiful stuff. We did a lot of A/B testing, so I would build something and I'd say, hey, what do you think about this? She would build something and she'd say, hey, what do you think about this? We did all that A/B testing. We went back to talk to other people on the team. We built this perfect template. Do something like that. Spend some time, put it into the sand pit area of your Moodle, and then you can actually take that, make a backup of it, import it, or restore it, and start building a new course with that. So always build from that template, and you've got it perfect there. Or, you know what, sometimes you don't even need to import the entire course. Sometimes you can just import a section. So that introductory, like intro to the teachers and that sort of stuff, we could just pull that section. And you can just pull that we built those as topics, and we just pulled that topic in. So you can just import just the pieces. Spend some time, build a perfect template course. Tip number 13, did you know you could import groups? So true story, I was in on a consult with a client, and the client, their team spoke to me, and they had to import groups across multiple courses. Now, at first I went, oh, well, that's a cohort, you know, and they were like, no, and they went into a reason why they couldn't use cohorts, and it made sense. I'm not going to go through it. I can't fully remember why, but for their purposes, they couldn't use a cohort. So they had to have a group, and it was the same group, same people, all across these multiple courses. So they told me what they were doing, and they wanted to check if it was right. So they said, we just made a backup of one of our courses, and inside that backup, we could choose what we're going to back up. All we chose was the groups, so we just backed up the groups. And then we went around to all the courses, and we restored into that course just that group backup. And that restored just that group across all their courses. And they said, are we doing it right? And I went, that is brilliant. That is genius. I had never thought of that. You can use that to back up your groups and import them across your courses. I love that idea. I said, I'm telling everybody this because it's brilliant. Isn't that more work than uploading a CSV? No, because it was like they already had the people. They already had the actual students enrolled. They just wanted to take those groups and replicate those groups. Could you do that using a CSV? Maybe. Anyway, stop reading the chat, Scott. Tip number 14. I don't have time to read the chat. I'll come to questions if yeah. Tip number 14. Be cool about copyright. So yeah, see this all the time. Teachers, they need a photo of Sydney. I'll just Google images and I'll just grab a photo of Sydney and I'll just put that in my course, right? That's cool. No, it's not cool at all. You can't just grab photos that you find off the internet, even though it's just your course and you don't think anybody's going to see this. Be cool about it. You could buy some stock images. Really, who's got the money? Is your faculty paying for stock images? Nah, hey, I work in Australia at TAFE. They're not paying for that sort of stuff. So look into Creative Commons. That's a good way around that. And yeah, you can do a search on Creative Commons. I put in a link. I'm not going to describe what Creative Commons is, but it's a way that we can generally legally use a photo. And yeah, I firmly believe that don't just take from the Creative Commons. You have to put into the Creative Commons as well. So I make a lot of my photos available for the Creative Commons, and I use that license where it's like people can take what I built and modify it, reuse it, that sort of stuff. And that's not just true of pictures. Be cool about copyright in other aspects too. Video, weight music. Yeah, so there was a teacher that I knew about that they would play some weight ABBA music before their Adobe Connect session began. And we were looking at the replays and we were like, yeah, you can't do that. That's copyright infringement. So be cool about it. There's ways around this that, look into that Creative Commons. You can find all kinds of stuff inside there. Tip number 15, get a Dev Moodle. If you don't have a Dev Moodle, go get one today. A Dev Moodle, Development Moodle, it's a place where you can build stuff that's not on your live production Moodle. Very important. You don't want to be doing all these experimental crazy stuff on your production Moodle. I break things all the time. I'm always breaking stuff. And yeah, it's usually a bad thing to break the production, and especially if you're going to destroy a whole lot of student data. Not a good thing. That's happened more than I like to admit. So yeah, definitely go and set up a separate development Moodle. I use an AW micro instance for that for my dev Moodle, but you can do other stuff as well. You could use shared hosting, or you can even build like a local instance. So if you go to the Moodle's download page, they actually have like a nice little package already there for you. If you're a Mac user or a PC user, just download that and boom, you can set up a local instance. It's not one that's on the internet, it's just on your little local computer, but you can test all kinds of stuff inside there. At the very least, build a sandpit category so students don't have access to, and you can play with your stuff inside that sandpit category. Tip number 16, hey, if you've got a dev Moodle, try to break it. Try to do all kinds of crazy stuff. Push your dev Moodle, try all the crazy stuff, install all the weird plugins, see if they work, see what doesn't work, play with it. Try your crazy themes, flick all the switches, twist all the dials. There are so many different things you can play. Some of the themes you go through, and it's like all the list of options of things you can switch. It's a mile long. I'm not going to say one in particular, but the one in particular. It's like a crazy amount of options. Use your dev Moodle for your A/B testing. So that's where you build stuff and you talk amongst your team and say, hey, what do you think of this? Does this look cool or stuff? This is where you want to use your HTML, CSS, Bootstrap, JavaScript sort of stuff. So that's where you're going to go in. I'm going to talk about the Bootstrap hacks in my next presentation. This is where you want to do it because if you break everything, well, who cares? It's just the dev Moodle. Hey, JavaScript. Can a teacher include JavaScript in a label? Hey, let's find out. What does that mean? Would that be a bad thing? Maybe it would. Maybe it wouldn't. Find out. Go nuts, break your dev Moodle, push it all the way, go crazy. Tip number 17, learn some HTML, CSS, and Bootstrap, since we were just talking about this. Look, if you really want to make your courses look sweet, you're going to have to get your hands a little dirty. HTML, CSS, that's the language of the web. You're going to have to learn a little bit about this if you want to push your course material to the little bit higher level. Wherever there's an auto editor in Moodle, you can get in and edit the HTML code. And I just said auto editor, TinyMC. Wherever there's an editor in Moodle, auto or TinyMC, you can get into the HTML. Bootstrap is a great way to add some design elements to your course with a minimum amount of work. A lot of themes out there are using Bootstrap, so Boost and Essential. That's just two. A lot of them are doing it. So go take a look at the Bootstrap documentation. Let it inspire you. Go take a look at W3 School's section on Bootstrap. And yeah, there's actually an iMoot presentation. Go take a look at my presentation. I'm going to talk about that later today, about how to use Bootstrap and HTML. HTML, CSS, not that hard, not the craziest, hardest computer languages, not at all, not by a long shot. So don't be afraid of them. And yeah, you can actually push your material to the next level. Tip number 18, try some plugins. Hey, since you have a dev Moodle, why don't you try some plugins? The M in Moodle is for modular, or it used to be for something else, but anyway. Yeah, so there's a whole lot of plugins. I've talked about a whole lot of plugins already. Try new plugins. Try these plugins. So go to that link. That takes you to the plugins page of the Moodle download site. And yeah, there's plugins for all kinds of stuff. Course formats, I already talked about. Question types, activity restrictions, I talked about that. Assignment submission methods. So hey, last night I was talking about Justin. So try installing Poodle on your Moodle. The list is endless. There's all kinds of crazy stuff inside there. I love that. There's a great iMoot presentation on this. So Stuart Mealer gave that the top 50 Moodles plugin. And actually, I learned some stuff there. So take a look at some of the stuff they're doing. So the Moodle Bytes site has a plugins place where you can play with plugins inside there. Yeah, so you can do that, or you can take a look at, try it on your dev server. Don't do it on your production. Things will go wrong. And yeah, from a consult that I was doing earlier, they wanted me to install a question type, but a drag and drop one, but they want to make a couple modifications. They found some code and they were like, we just don't know what to do. So I said, hey, well, let's just take a look at it. I know some PHP. I'm a smart guy. So we went into the actual PHP. I showed them how to unpack the plugin and actually get to the PHP. I made a few modifications, and yeah, maybe I did a couple things wrong when putting it back together because it actually crashed the dev site entirely. And that's why you don't do it on a production, because that would have been a bad story on production with the dev. I was just like, oh, who cares? We'll just fire up another instance and we'll give it another go. I think I know what I did wrong. Tip number 19, sign up for a MOOC. So what's a MOOC? MOOC's always, it's a funny word, but a MOOC is a multiple open online course. So it's an opportunity for you to actually learn something. So there are all kinds of MOOCs out there. Moodle has a MOOC site at learn.moodle.net. They run a MOOC every now and then about learning about how to use Moodle. I've taken part of that once, and yeah, it was pretty good. And then there was this one that I've taken part of the free Moodle mobile MOOC, but by Moodle Bytes. Yeah, it started May 1st. I thought it started only a few days ago, but I looked it up, and yeah, wow, is it already the 19th of May? But yeah, I've done this one before, the mobile one, and it's really cool. You learn about how to use how to build courses on a mobile for either the Moodle mobile app or the mobile website. So it's really cool stuff. Lots of MOOCs out there. Take a look out for one. Search every now and then. Just do a Google search for Moodle and MOOC and take a look at what is there. Maybe you can sign up for something, learn something new. Tip number 20, listen to a Moodle podcast. I am a big podcast fan. Being an expat, I listen to Canadian podcasts all the time. And there's actually a Moodle podcast. I didn't really know about this, but I found out about it because, yeah, the 1st of May, they came out with the free Moodle podcast by HRDNZ. It's been around for a while, but the 1st of May, that version that came out was all about iMoot. So I listened to it, and I'm like, hey, this is great. There's a Moodle podcast. So I've added it to my feed, and I'm going to keep listening to it. So yeah, if you're a podcast listener, if you've got a commute, why don't you start getting into podcasts and take a look for this one. Tip number 21, join the MUA, the Moodle Users Association. I love the MUA. I was one of the first members that signed up when they opened up the membership. I can't verify that, but I assure you I was. It's a not-for-profit organization that helps to support Moodle. So the dues that you pay actually go into paying for some development for Moodle. And the way the MUA works, look, I'm not going to tell you all the stuff that they do, but one of the things that they do is the members can actually put together a project proposal. So they can propose, okay, this is what we think we should work on for Moodle. And then the members get a vote. All the other members get a vote. And the project that gets the most votes gets put forward to actually goes into a development stage. So they start to build it. So these guys, they're actually contributing to Moodle Core. So there's some great projects out there. They're doing one on, oh, I don't know. Go take a look at the Moodle Users Association. There's some really wonderful stuff. I just love just being a member. Like I like to just say I'm supporting Moodle. So that's the reason I signed up. $110 yearly. I figure, you know, over 12 months, that's not a lot. That's less than $10 a month. So I think it's worth it. Tip number 22, go to a Moot or a meetup. Hey, congratulations, you've done this. You're at a Moot. But there's lots of Moots out there. So iMoot is awesome, so why not also attend a real-life Moot? Definitely come back to iMoot and mini iMoot in November as well. The Moodle calendar has a list of upcoming Moots. There's going to be Moots in Australia coming up this year. I should have checked it. Oh, my goodness, I forgot to do my homework. I believe it's in September, the Australian iMoot, or the Australian Moot, sorry. But yeah, there's Moots around the world as well. Already this year, the Japanese one I went to, I love the Japanese Moot. It's always a good time. Last year in October, the New Zealand Moot, that was a fantastic one. There's lots of Moots I gotta get to. They just held the British one. I gotta get to that sometime. There's 2 in America this year. There's one in Canada coming up at the start of next year. I believe it's the start of next year. I haven't told my wife, but I really want to push to go to that one because I'd love to go to a Moot in Canada. So take a look at that. But you know what? You can't always go to a Moot. Maybe there's another option as well. Have you ever gone to a meetup? So take a look at this link right here. That's meetup.com. There's Moodle meetups inside there. So a meetup is more like a local group. They get together monthly and they talk about various things. Well, they talk about Moodle at the Moodle meetup. But yeah, there's all kinds of meetups also for other topics as well. So I'm a big member of some local meetup communities here in Australia, in Sydney. I'm a member every month. We have a members meetup, and I've gone to that a few times. WordPress meetups, all kinds of cool stuff like that. And you know what? The best part about that is free. And what I love about the meetups here in Sydney, at least all the tech ones, you go there and they give you beer and pizza for free. I'm like, it's worth it for that. I sound so cheap, but no, I love it. You get together, you get to socialize. Definitely a big fan of meetups. Join one today. Join one right now. Well, maybe not right now. Wait till the end of my presentation. The next thing though, socialize at a Moot. Tip number 23. If you've gone to a Moot, you got to socialize. Don't just, your Moot experience is going to be terrible if you don't want to talk to anybody. Be brave, get out there, meet some people. So yeah, talk to people around you during the conference session. Well, between the breaks, don't talk while the speaker's talking. But you know, talk to these people. Say, hey, what do you do? This is what I do. What do you do? And meet these people. This is your professional development network. You got to build it at a Moot or any conference, really. Introduce yourself to a speaker in the hallway. If you enjoyed the speaker and you see them, you know, don't come up and be rude to them or anything like that. But you know, hey, Scott, I liked your presentation. It was great. And talk to them. They're going to learn. They're there to talk to you as well. They're going to love talking to you. They're there to learn at Moots as well. They present, but they also are there to learn. So don't, you know, go up to these people. Don't be afraid. Get out there, socialize. Do the social events as well. So usually at a Moot, they have like a night where you go bowling or dancing or just to a dinner. You got to go to those events as well. Meet some people, chat, talk, mingle. You gotta. This is you're building your social professional development network when you go to these social events. There's people who have answers to your problem. You're gonna meet them there. Get a Twitter account and tweet with the hashtag. Do that during the Moot, during the event. I cannot stress this enough. That's where you're gonna meet your Twitter friends, and it's gonna be awesome when you meet them in real life. That's where you start your conversations. So you have to hang out in Orange's Cafe at this iMoot, and you have to tweet on iMoot17. You have to do that. That's your homework. Do that, like right now. Send out a tweet right now. I expect to see lots of tweets when I finish my talk. Tip number 24: go to a non-Moodle conference or meetup. Look, I've been talking about conferences, Moots, Moodle Moots. Go to non-Moodle events. You have to get out of the Moodle bubble sometimes. Find out what else is out there. There's some great material out there. You got to find inspiration everywhere. So in Australia and New Zealand, that's my local area. There's plenty of education conferences. I put in 4 there, and I could have listed the entire page. I could have filled this page with education conferences around here, and some of these are really good ones. Ascolite, Edutech is coming up. Flans is one in New Zealand. It used to be called Dean's. I went there last April, and their conference dinner was held at Hobbiton. It was the coolest experience ever. NCVR, that's one coming up in Tasmania. There's so many conferences. I got to go to these. And you know what? Don't just stick to this education conferences. Go to tech conferences. You're going to learn stuff at these tech ones as well. And if you're smart about it, you can find ones that are relevant to you. So like WordCamp, LinuxConf, DrupalCon, BuzzConf, these are great conferences here in Australia that you can learn stuff. So WordCamp, that's held around the world. I love the WordCamp one. That's a WordPress event, and they're always super cheap. They're always around $50 for attendance. And there's one coming up in Brisbane. I'm going to go to that. I hope. I like this for teachers as well, because the WordCamp ones, they tend to be like there's a tech atmosphere, but there's also like a blogger atmosphere and small business owner and content developers. And inside that environment, you're going to find people who have thoughts and ideas about education. You're going to find educators there. And yeah, you're going to be able to talk to those people. You can also meet with the tech people. The BuzzConf one, that's a futurist one. I learned so much about STEM there. They're always doing STEM stuff inside there. Science, technology, engineering, mathematics, education. And education was a big thing of that. Even though it wasn't an education conference, education was huge. How are we going to teach STEM in schools? BuzzConf was awesome for that. This is where you're building your professional development network. This is where you're going to meet people at these conferences, the tech ones, that are going to be able to answer your tech problems. You're going to go and you'll be like, look, I'm looking for new hosting. I don't know how to do this AWS stuff. You're going to find experts there. So build your professional development network that way. Tap into deeper inspiration, find non-Moodle things, and bring them back to our community. We got to get out of that bubble, and we got to come back and bring that information back into our Moodle world. Tip number 25, present at a Moot. So everybody's got a story to share. You've got a case study, you've got a story. Every single one of you, I see there's a whole lot of people in this room. All of you have something to tell, some story to tell. You got to come, you got to share, you got to present at a Moot. So I expect you all to answer the call for the next iMoot. I know you're all going to put in that call for proposals. Look, I'm a firm believer that every one of us has a story and has something useful to present at these moots, like something interesting, exciting. And I was scared when I first started presenting. Hey, you take a look at that link that I did of my Moot Australia talk. I was terrified on stage, but people love that talk, and it enabled me to meet so many people. And I thought it was a great experience in the end. I grew so much from that. So you're going to grow too, because you're going to put in a talk, and we're all going to find out what's your Moodle story. And tip number 26, join me for Fortnightly Tips. I gotta promote my own stuff. So Fortnightly Tips, I do it every 2 weeks. It's a free webinar. Anybody can sign up. I do it 3 times a day, so I try to catch the breakfast, lunch, and then I try to catch the lunch in Perth on Western Australia. So it's 9:30, 12:30, and 2:30 Sydney times. But yeah, convert that to your own time zones. And yeah, every fortnight I do a tip on something small about Moodle. I try to get it within 15 minutes, but usually it blows out to about 25. And all this stuff, that's all free, and you can go back and watch the replays. Go to learn.pukunui.com, and you can take a look at Fortnightly Tips. June 26th, I'm a little scared of this one. I'm going to do using Big Blue Button. I'm a little scared because it's like I've used Big Blue Button, but how am I going to present on it? I'll figure it away. But we're gonna show people how to use Big Blue Button inside their courses. I don't know what the next one after that, but I've got a growing list of suggestions, and definitely you can suggest a topic to me of a tip that you want to see me cover. Yeah, we've got some great stuff coming up. It's a fairly new thing, so I'm super excited, and I'm enjoying doing it. And yeah, there we go. We are at the end. So thank you very much. And wow, 40 minutes. I talked for quite a while. Let's take a look at, I tried not to watch the scroll. So I'm going to throw it open to questions. If you have a mic, you can definitely ask me a question over the mic, or put a question up on the tab. Thank you
Wow,
very
Scott,
much.
you are on fire. You are on fire. That was amazing. So many amazing tips for us all to learn from. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge with us.
Oh, thank you very much.
As you know, I'm having some internet connectivity issues, so if you want to leave this open for questions, I'd like to jump out and get the next room to make sure that they're okay getting started. Do you mind stopping the recording if you're done with when you're done with questions?
Yeah, I can do that.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you again.
Thank you very much. Oh, thank you very much. I'm so glad that I saw a Fortnightly tips regular in here. I don't know if I made this clear. I threw this session was open to people from Fortnightly tips as well as iMooters. So this is our two communities here joined, and I love that I can see names from my Fortnightly tips as well. Oh, thank you very much for all these for all your accolades. Should I scroll up, see what um okay, so Mahara has new content. Oh, so some stuff about Mahara. Okay. Oh, just discovered Fortnite tips. Yes, thank you. Yeah, I have to say that I have a tendency to talk, so I'm trying really hard to keep them short. Sometimes they're not as bite-sized as I wish. I look back at the recording times and I'm like, oh, what was I talking about? Oh yeah, conferences. Mahara Hui. Yeah, they have one in April in Auckland, and I wish I could have gone, but I couldn't go. Tatara conference. I haven't been to one of those, but I'd love to go to those. WordCamp Auckland. Yes, that was in March. I had some friends who spoke there, and yeah, it must have been awesome. I wish I would have gone. I'm definitely going to try to make the Brisbane one. I love the WordCamps. They're a great time. ISTE. I think I've heard of that one. Carrie has just left. I can't tell. Yeah, I know that there's quite a few education conferences. I could have filled in the entire page of that. The Moots in New Zealand are social, very friendly. Moots in New Zealand are awesome. I love all the Moots. They all have a different flavor. Oh, thank you very much. Thank you, Melanie. I'm scrolling up. Looks like yeah, the Oranges Cafe. Oh, about the, people don't like my orange wall. I love my orange wall. Is there going to be another health moot? I can't really answer that. I don't know for certain. Um, yeah, that'd be a great question to throw out there if anybody knows. I know that it's not a moot. It's called Moodle. It's a conference up in Canberra, and it's usually higher ed and that sector. And they're changing the name. It's not going to be Moodle anymore. It's going to be EdTech. So I think that there's been a change in what some of the conferences they've changed from the main moot to maybe something slightly different. It's a lot of the copyright sort of stuff. The orange. Thank you, Dom. I think it's the light too. I just didn't have this light. Right now, it's the way it's shining down on me. It's kind of made this a very weird look. But yeah, I love my orange wall. And the curtains aren't that bad. I get a lot of flack for the old curtains. Yeah. All right. So, is there any other questions or comments? Feel free to turn on the mic and have a chat if you want. Anybody who's got the mic? But if not, we might wrap it up because it's 10:45 and or it's 15 minutes to the hour, and give people a chance to get out and get a coffee before their next session. I'm going to actually turn off the recording. So thank you again very much, everybody, and yeah, I hope you join me at Fortnightly Tips.